Oh, okay, there we go. All right, let's restart the recording. Right. Okay, and we're back. Right. Yeah, I can freeze time. Right. I know I froze for a moment. But right, we should be good to go. Blitz accepts a Spider-Verse. No, that's not true. Magnets, how do they work? So basically, every little atom is a tiny magnet. And if you stick those atoms in a lattice so that all of the magnets are aligned, you get big magnets. Wait, can you answer this hypothesis question? Which one? How can someone comprehend limitless space? Try not to think about it too much. No, that was Star Trek. I don't follow. Guy lost in a duel with Darth Vader. He came back to teach us. Exactly. Bingo. They believe they are important. They're not. Okay. Do you believe in predeterminism? I believe I'm a determinist. If that helps. Does the critical point of any substance have any practical use? Not that I know of, but probably best question to ask potentially grad school advisors. The best question to ask is probably something along the lines of what kind of relationship they want to have with you. Are they going to be hands-on, hands-off? What are they? How often are they going to want to meet? Things like this. Is the wave function physical? I would say so, but that's not yet demonstrated. What are the biggest advances in physics during our lifetime? Probably, well, in physics? In physics broadly, I can't comment, but like at least in my area, there are a lot of things. Probably gravitational wave observations would be my guess. Determinism is a philosophy, not science. Determinism is a result of physics. What made you fall in love with physics? Black holes are just cool. What's the difference between Euclidean geometry and others? Yeah, so Euclidean geometry is a geometry that satisfies 5 postulates. These were first put down by Euclid. However, the 5th postulate is that parallel lines never intersect. If you drop that postulate, if you allow parallel lines to intersect, then it is the case that you get other geometries, like spherical geometry. For example, if you start at the equator, if you have 2 different people starting at the equator and they're both driving north, they are going in parallel directions. However, they converge at the North Pole. How do you handle what you've learned how do you handle when you've learned you've misunderstood a concept? I don't know if I have a way to, like a well thought out way to do that. Can you explain the continuity equation in quantum physics? Yeah, so the continuity equation is basically, for those who don't know, continuity equation in non-quantum physics is basically something that says that like if the amount of mass in a region is decreasing, then that mass went somewhere. And it's roughly the same thing being true in quantum mechanics, namely that if some probability density left a region, that probability density went elsewhere. How can the wave function be physical in light of counterfactual communication? I mean, all of the predictions of standard of the Copenhagen interpretation also, well, okay, so if you're distinguishing between real and physical, we might have something to talk about. But I mean, it gets really complicated really fast. What exactly is quantum spin? I answer this all the time, but roughly quantum spin is like, you should imagine a little ball spinning, except it's not a ball and it's not spinning. Quantum spin is, I tell that joke every time. Quantum spin is roughly it's an intrinsic property of a system that that gives the system angular momentum. It's an intrinsic property of a particle, I should say, that gives that particle angular momentum, just like how charge is an intrinsic property of a system. Does the event horizon of a black hole have a width? Is the photon inside or out? It's an imaginary barrier. It's not an actual thing. So, but it's really hard to say. Those kinds of questions would be questions that would require quantum gravity. Presumably, it doesn't actually have a width. Can you recommend another physicist on TikTok you can follow? There's a lot. There's Blackbird Physics. He's a particle physicist, grad student. There's that's Ibrahim. There's Sean, who's Quantonaut. He's another particle physics experimentalist. There's a pop culture scientist who is a plasma wake accelerator physicist. She's a grad student. And then there's some astrophysicists as well. There's also Jorge. He is a lapsed physicist. He now works in aerospace, but he does physics content on here. Jorge Science, I think, is his account name. So what's your take on Baha'i? It's pretty rad. I don't think that like the belief claims are true, but I really appreciate the social commentary and the social positions. Any tips before your quantum mechanics exam tomorrow? Make sure you remember that you can insert a complete basis. Can we measure time in quantum mechanics for a particle, like time of arrival of a particle? Yeah, but there will be some uncertainty, of course, because the particles spread out. Is it possible for time machines to exist? I made a video about this recently. The basic gist is that in principle, yes, but you can't do anything with it because once you go back in time, you'll forget what you were doing. And then you'll go forward in time, and then you'll go back in time, and you'll be stuck in a loop forever. Do all black holes spin in the same direction? No. They all spin in whatever direction they started spinning in. Time slows down near a black hole. Has anything actually reached the center? So the question of when things reach the center That's a question of simultaneity. Like, what is going on for us when something else reaches the center? And simultaneity is relative when we're talking about relativity, meaning that what I think might be two simultaneous events, you might think are two events that are before or after one another. Is it worth debating Terrence Howard? Like, will he actually talk to a legit scientist? I've already challenged him to it. He probably won't accept. What is matter? Matter is it's a type of part. The way that I would define it anyway, matter is a type of particle that can't occupy the same space as other kinds of particles of the same type, at least at the same energy level. Pilot wave theory versus Copenhagen. I don't really like either. I prefer many worlds, to be honest. Have you visited CERN? I have not. Describe all of physics in 2 words or less. Stuff moves. David Deutsch says even fictional characters like Bruce Wayne exist in many worlds. Do you agree? Not quite. How accurate is the information we have found from multidimensional? What multidimensional theory? What do you mean different energy levels? Yeah, so like you can have, for example, around an atom, electrons take different energy levels. So you could have an electron at a low energy level, and then you could hit it with a photon, a particle of light, and it'll jump up to a higher energy level. So you can't have 2 electrons in the same state at the same energy level with their spins pointing in the same direction. That's because it's a matter particle rather than a force-carrying particle might be the other alternative. Why many worlds briefly? It's the minimal assumption model. The idea is with Copenhagen interpretation, there's some sort of wave function collapse, which even in principle can't be observed, and there's no proposed mechanism for how it happens. In the pilot wave theory, there's more assumptions about things that aren't observed. So it's just, if you take the Schrodinger equation and you just believe it, like all physicists do for subatomic things, if you just believe it for all scales rather than just subatomic things, you get many worlds. Many worlds, so the worlds in many worlds are like the superposition of an electron being in a spin up and spin down state. It's nothing more mysterious than that. Do you think we can find energy levels for other atoms than hydrogen? Yeah, we absolutely have. Do very distant objects appear enlarged to us due to expanding space spreading photons? No, but they appear larger to us because space was smaller back then. If you go back far enough, they get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then they get bigger again because space was smaller. They took up more of that space because there was less of it. Will physics redefine room temperature now that I've lowered the thermostat due to rising costs? Yes, we will. I'll let the committee know. What do you think about the Feynman response to the magnet question? It's a good response. I mean, the thing is like we can explain magnets. It's just tricky. Where'd you study physics? I'm not going to tell you because that would dox me. But but it's cool that you studied at Caltech. So it's not parallel Earths, it's different aspects of existence. Yeah, bingo. Did science communicators go wrong popularizing the idea of singularities inside of black holes? No, it's a prediction of general relativity, but they should have also caveated it with saying that we don't know if these are actually real. Why are there no magnetic monopoles? There might be, actually. We just haven't found them. The atom, we jumped through dimensions and studied decay on. What? What do you think about superdeterminism? I don't like superdeterminism because it's very unsatisfying. How can we slow light and bend light? Well, you can slow light by putting it through a medium that has a high refractive index. You can bend light by putting it through a medium that has a high refractive index, or letting it swing around a gravitational body. What makes it so hard to find magnetic monopoles? Well, it wouldn't be hard if they were around. It's just we don't know if there are any nearby. Have you made a video on any of the no-go theorems? I was actually thinking about doing this quite recently. I think I made one about the no communication theorem quite a while ago. Any recent interesting publications? I have a few that are pulled up. But I can't pull it up because I'm recording on my other screen. Your grad school PI runs a SciComm org. You should present at their meeting. DM me. How do I complete my bachelor's in physics and astronomy? Go to classes, take the exams, right? Does time exist as we know it at the speed of light? There is no at the speed of light that you can be. There's not a valid reference frame there. Pin the readings on a comment? What are the null dust solutions? Null dust solutions are just like if you had massless matter that's still at energy. And then you just propagate them in Einstein field equations. In your opinion, what's the best school to learn physics? The best school? MIT is really good. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Caltech, Stanford. Basically, the best schools for anything are the best schools in physics. Can a photon that has been slowed to less than the speed of light be sped back to the speed of light? Yeah, once it leaves the high index of refraction medium, it'll speed back up. What's my salary? It's like after tax, it's like 73,000 crowns a month, which is something like $3,200 or so. If you accept many worlds, wouldn't that inherently mean you accept superdeterminism? No, they're different things. Does time exist at the speed of light? That's not really a useful question. Like, there is no reference frame by which you can measure time when you're going the speed of light. Is there a usefulness to finding new atoms, or is it just fun? Well, there's a hope that there's something called the Island of Stability. The Island of Stability is this idea that there might be super heavy atoms that are stable, or at least are more stable than their slightly lighter compatriots. And if we can find those, that might be very interesting. But we haven't found those yet. You know, Stanford Professor Gary Nolan doesn't agree with you on UFOs. Okay, people are allowed to disagree. Are you doing debates later? Not today. Massless matter examples. There are none. You can, you can imagine like a scalar field is that way. Can there be something more advanced than a computer? I don't know what you mean. Temperature inside of a black hole. I guess it depends on what's been falling into the black hole. If it's stationary, I would imagine that it's... I don't know. I would imagine it's 0. But no, I guess it wouldn't be. I guess it'd actually be quite warm because of the cosmic microwave background radiation coming in and blue shifting. Is it a must to go to a university to become a physicist? Yes, it's a must. All right, let's bring up Chief. We can answer some questions.
What's up, Dr. Blitz?
Hey, how's it going? What
Wondering
questions you
what you
got for me?
think about the idea of gravity being part of the same wave of electricity and magnetism with just a different vector.
It's not.
So
They're independent things.
I heard recently also that gravity does not need mass to exist, and somebody just came up with that theory. Did you hear about that
Yeah,
one yet?
so I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I did. It does need mass. It just doesn't need net non-zero mass. So in the model that they came up with, there's a region with mass, with positive mass, and a region with negative mass, and there's still a gravitational field. And in some sense, those two regions cancel out, like the mass cancels out, but there's still mass there. There's still stuff, and there's still negative matter or negative mass stuff. It's just the total mass is 0. So there is still mass present.
Okay, interesting. And what do you think about psychoacoustics, or what do you know about psychoacoustics?
I know nothing about it. It sounds like psychology stuff, though, not physics.
Well, it has to do with like the brain waves in your head emitting, an electromagnetic wave. And the idea is that if you stimulate the brain with pulsed electromagnetic waves, it can actually affect your consciousness.
Okay, that's not physics, though. That's psychology, neuroscience. I don't know anything about it.
Right on, man. Much appreciated. Have a good one.
Likewise, take care. All right, I'm going to answer some questions and I'll bring up another guest. What is the God particle and why is it important? Right, so the God particle is better known as the Higgs boson. Um, the Higgs boson is an excitation of the Higgs field. Now, the Higgs field you can kind of think of as like molasses, space-time molasses, that when particles travel through it, if they get dragged on by the molasses, they slow down. They would be traveling at the speed of light, but they slow down, and so we know that if you're moving slower than the speed of light, you have mass, and so in some sense, the Higgs boson, or not in some sense, exactly, the Higgs boson is what gives fundamental particles their mass. That's why I call it space-time molasses. Um, how do you combat misinformation so much when so many people are entering it? I don't know. I just do. What is your opinion about Penrose's conformal cyclic cosmology? It's really cool because it would make my thesis work very important, or at least fairly important. However, it's probably not true. What are your fun physics facts for a bar? I don't go to bars a lot, so I don't have any. Your vid read paper on Big Bang without singularity. Can you explain it further? Yeah, so the singularity is there. It's just you can kind of look at the geometry of in a standard way. You can't really examine the geometry of the Big Bang singularity because it's singular. Like everything blows up. But you can do some clever math basically to kind of like take the singularity and then like shove it somewhere else, so that you can actually look at the geometry that's there. The singularity is still there. They're just looking at the pieces of the geometry that don't care about the singularity. And so, in a sense, they're able to extract useful geometric information, which we know that space-time geometry is related to matter by Einstein's field equations. So this tells us useful information about the kinds of physics that's happening at or near the Big Bang. Is Eric Weinstein taken seriously in the academia? No, not at all. Why are heavy stable atoms so important to find? Well, I don't know if they're important, but they'd be really cool, and they might have neat applications. How is a high frequency M wave modeled as a null dust solution? That's a good question. I mean, so in principle, you could. Well, I mean, sure, it is. It can be modeled as a null dust solution, so long as you don't have any interactions. That would work. What are the things that you love besides physics? My wife. Your reactions to the physics in the TV show The Big Bang Theory? It's fine. It's not a physics show though. What's the formula for average speed? Average speed of what? Of like a thing moving? You just take the total distance traveled divided by the amount of time it took to get there. Well, that would be average velocity. Average speed is you would want to integrate the you would just want to integrate the speed and then divide by the duration, right? What kind of math course did you take? I took lots. All the calculus, all the differential equations, all the linear algebra, all the real analysis. I took some complex analysis, some number theory, some group theory. Have you ever thought about reviewing scenes from the MCU? No, not really. It's not something I care to do. What's your favorite math to do? Differential geometry. What's a reliable website for science news that isn't sensationalized? Look, so the thing is I don't actually know. Well, okay, here's what you can do. Go to Reddit, go to the physics subreddit. Somebody will post something, some big news. Go read the comments. Make sure that it's, and you'll have physicists there saying whether it's legit or not. Do you know the Euclideans? Is that a family? Explain how gravitational waves affect quantum fluctuations. We don't know. We don't know how they do, but I have some ideas. What was your GPA? In undergrad, it was 4.0. Thoughts on the crisis of particle physics and on building bigger particle accelerators? It's a problem, which is why astrophysics and cosmology is getting a lot more attention, because at least we can, there's more stuff to be gleaned from that. Is geometric unity nonsense? As far as I can tell, yeah. Sabrina has, what? Heard that in math we can reverse time, but in physical reality we can't. Yeah, basically. Why the ghostly backdrop instead of OBS green screen? Oh, I always do the ghostly backup. It's just the thing that I've been doing for the last 2 years. What was grad GPA? I don't know, 3.9 or something. I think I got an A- in a class. What's Lorentz symmetry? Lorentz symmetry is the idea that if you take a system, like a water bottle, for example, the laws of physics describing that water bottle aren't changed regardless of what angle you look at the water bottle from, how fast you're moving relative to the water bottle. The laws of physics are the same. In a convo with fellow physicists, what's the next big physics discovery that's just around the corner? People don't talk like that with each other. That's just not a thing. Thank you for the gift, by the way. Awesome. Thank you for the star. If you could break the speed of light with mass, what would happen? You'd die. Does the A- drive you crazy? Yeah, kind of. But it's not a big deal. Did you study differential geometry manifolds from John Lee's book? No. I actually only took a really basic diff geo class, and it was from DeCarmo. I picked up everything else on the job, because I wasn't intending to be a differential geometer, but it ended up happening anyway, so I learned everything I needed to learn while in grad school, basically, without taking classes. I also learned stuff from general relativity. GR books tend to do a decent job for introducing diff geo. What years of undergrad should you take general relativity? If you can, it is a grad course, so you don't have to take it in undergrad, but if you can, take it. How many years were you in school total? 4 in undergrad, 2 in master's, 5 in PhD. Is string theory a dead end? I don't think so. Are you more physicist or mathematician? I'm published in mathematics journals and physics journals, so I'm a mathematical physicist. Something like that. Is there just one electron in the universe? No. No, there isn't. I have an old video debunking this. Not that old, maybe a year old. But basically, if that were the case, we would expect to see the same amount of antimatter and matter, but we don't. So, what do you think about time reversal symmetry? It seems to be violated from the weak nuclear force, actually, but not enough to account for the fact that we basically see no antimatter. What do you think about the anti-universe? I haven't heard about that. Well, I've heard about it. I haven't read too much into it, so I can't comment. I don't know what you mean. Can you define stop? Could I fill a jam jar only with electrons? No, it would explode. Do you have any book recommendations on quantum mechanics or cosmology? Well, a good starting book on cosmology would be A Brief History of Time. From your experience, is there a notable presence of African people in the field of physics? In my area, in Europe, not so many. A significant presence, probably not. They are certainly underrepresented. But, we're doing our best to increase representation. Is gravity being questioned again, and are there new theories? Gravity is not being questioned. Gravity is real. It just might be emergent. Where and how can I study physics from the ground, because my physics didn't teach me nothing? Get a textbook. A good textbook that I recommend everyone, and this is the one that I've taught out of, is it's a textbook called University Physics by Young and Friedman. It's expensive, though. So instead, you can go to OpenStack's Rice University Physics textbook, and there's a free online textbook that's fairly good as well. I've also used that one before. What's the next big thing in physics? If I knew, I would be doing that. Are you willing to watch podcasts with Gary Nolan and Tucker Carlson? No, I'm not going to watch something with Tucker Carlson, sorry. Apparently you can model a neutrino beam as null dust by assuming its masses. That's also probably true. Yeah, I believe that. What happens to an object at the center of a gravitational force? So if it's like overlapping with the thing, then it just sits there, right? How to solve hydrogen atom? It's just a PDE, so you want to do separation of variables, and then you'll get a... What's the name of the ODE that you end up getting? I don't remember what it's called, but you get a certain ODE that depends on the radial function, and then you'll have spherical harmonics for the angular functions. What's a good science? I don't know what a good science book is for a 6th grade reading level. Sorry. What's the favorite thing you've learned through physics? Gravity is weirder beyond your wildest imagination. What's your favorite physics trick you use every day for seemingly mundane things? I don't think I have one. Any philosophy of science book recommendations? No, I haven't read any. I probably should, but I haven't. Gravity is real, but is being questioned with new theories? No, not really. I mean, people are always trying to figure out what general relativity is an approximation for, but it's not being questioned whether it's real or not. Do you know of any initiatives, grants, etc. for African people in physics? I do. There's something that was being run by someone in France, where they were looking for a larger diverse population. How much money do you make? $3,200 a month or so? Not from my job. The podcast talks about a physics that we have not learned or understood. Well, then if Tucker Carlson is involved, it's probably not a very good podcast. How do you entangle two quantum particles? You don't, so you can entangle them just by measuring them together, but a better way is just to produce them in an entangled state. What was your worst pre-physicist physics misconception? I don't remember. Could it be a particle for gravity? I don't follow. Are PDEs harder than ODEs? Way harder. Way harder. There's a whole theory of ODEs of when there's solutions and things like that, and you can just, they're very, very well understood. PDEs are much, much more challenging. What's your occupation? I'm a physicist / mathematician. I did not watch Three-Body Problem, and I'm not going to. How do you produce them in an entangled state? Yeah, so one way that you can do it is, if you want to entangle photons, for example, is you can take a single high-energy photon, you can shoot it through what is it called? It's not a frequency doubler. Basically, it takes the one photon and splits it into two photons that are half as energetic. And then those two photons are entangled with each other. That's one way that you can do this. Is physics just math with extra steps? No, it's math with experiments. What are PDEs and ODEs? PDEs are partial differential equations. ODEs are ordinary differential equations. Most useful math class you took? Probably my proof theory class, to be honest. You always look to the right when you're recalling thoughts. That's because there's a wall to my left. Actually, so this is my left, this is my right, but how is determinism saved? With quantum mechanics. Who's your favorite Star Trek character? Great question. Oh, that's really hard. I really like the Doctor, though, from Voyager. Maybe the Doctor. What's 1 plus 1? 2. I feel like scientists hate watching popular things because it screws with the science of things. No, it's just I've heard bad things about some of these things. Could quantum entanglement be used in a device as a point-to-point communication device? No. No, there's actually something called the no communication theorem, which means that you can't actually communicate information with quantum entanglement. Is space subject to length contraction at close to light speed with this effect on QB area drive? Yeah, so it's only if you're moving through space at close to light speed, yes. But the Alcubierre drive, you're not actually moving through space. It's just space is kind of moving around you, which is different. Are there any major equations in string theory? Yeah, the Nabu-Goto action is a big one. And that's like the big one. Then what's the point of quantum entanglement if you can't communicate? Well, not everything has a point. Like, that's just how the universe is. But you can use quantum entanglement in like quantum computing and stuff like that. Do you believe we'd unalive if we teleport according to Star Trek logic, even if we came back? Well, yeah, you're dead. It's just there's a new you. Hottest Star Trek babe. Oh, hottest Star Trek babe. I'm not going to answer that. Are you sad Heisenberg uncertainty exists? No. Thoughts on free will? I don't think that there is any. How did the visor in Star Trek let that guy read rainbows? It's a good question. Do you... No, I don't. I don't mess with it. M theory, no. Did Einstein steal E equals MC squared? No, not at all. If we invented... Okay, I already answered that. I would not use a Star Trek style teleporter though. No, not at all. Did you watch The Expanse? I watched part of it, but I don't remember much. With the new you remember the previous you's memories and thoughts? Yes. Do you think education can blind you from exploring by narrow-minded thinking? No, I think it actually encourages broader thinking. No, I'm not a Kirk stan. Honestly, maybe Cisco. Cisco's amazing. What do you think of ancient philosophers who are in a sense physicists too? Well, they were like natural philosophers, which is a different kind of thing because they weren't really using the scientific method to explore things. Favorite American band? American band. I don't actually listen to a lot of American bands. Maybe Metallica. I don't know. It's kind of basic. How has the pursuit of physics affect your worldview? I don't know if it has. I've been doing it for so long. Where can you learn string theory? Grad school. Dax is pretty hot. Yeah, that's true. Taking calc right now. Any advice? Go to office hours. If you could hang out with any physicist or mathematician, it would be Einstein. Einstein's easy. I haven't watched Genius, no. All right, let's bring up a guest and answer some questions. Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. Hey, been listening, been a fan for a long time, been on your lives a couple times. I don't have so much of a question, but something I want to present to you and see what you think of it.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Here's my idea. I don't think flat earthers exist.
You're wrong, unfortunately.
Okay, hear me out, because I know that sounds crazy, right? I troll on a lot of flat earther channels on here. A lot of flat earthers have done some level of research, some level of investigation, not research, into the idea of flat earth versus the globe, right? And they're not stupid. Like, there isn't just a lack of intelligence going on here, it's a seemingly wanting disbelief. My issue with the idea, though, is in order to believe in the flat earth, you have to believe in this massive multinational conspiracy activity, right?
Yep.
And I think they believe that the government is willing to kill people to keep this a secret.
Yep. Hey, you think that?
Right. Okay. So, personally, I believe that if I knew a government secret that the government would try to kill or would be willing to kill to keep a secret, I wouldn't be on TikTok about it. Like, I wouldn't be posting the...
They have reasons for why. I've asked the same question. They have reasons for why they're on TikTok. And they say it's because, the government tries to frame us as stupid so that they don't have to worry about expending energy trying to knock us off. So they let us be on here so long as there's controlled opposition, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Look, like they exist. I'm sorry, they exist. I've interacted with enough of them. There are people who legitimately think it. I think that some aren't legit, like probably Witsit and Nathan Thompson probably don't believe it. But most of the people who buy the t-shirts, they absolutely do. There's the t-shirt sellers and the t-shirt buyers, and the t-shirt buyers are fully in it. They're fully in the sauce.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. But I'm going to let you go then.
Okay. Appreciate
Take care, Laceration. Do you think Czech science academic level is high? I don't know a lot about the Czech education system. However, it does seem like it's like they have a pretty high standard. What do you think about Sharkeisha's superhuman? I don't know what that is. Are Americans as inclined to go to grad school and beyond as immigrants are? I don't know. Didn't Nathan try to scream flat earth at kids? Yeah, but maybe he's a true believer. I don't know. He's a t-shirt seller, so can you explain why we will never be able to see the Big Bang with a telescope? Not with an optical telescope, and that's because an optical telescope has to be able to see. Basically, there's a big opaque wall between the Big Bang and us, and it's called the cosmic microwave background radiation. We can't see past that because the universe was opaque, and light can't pass through opaque things. However, gravitational waves can. So in principle, we can see the Big Bang with gravitational wave detectors. Explain how using quantum theory, how much would it best college for physics? I don't know if there's a best one, but like Princeton's really good. Yale, Stanford, MIT, Harvard. These are all really good. A physicist is always a determinist? No. What's Irish's deal? Don't worry about it. If you want, you can DM me. Do you also like philosophy? Yeah, I do. What's the tennis racket theorem? Let me show you with a demonstration. You just have to find something that's the right shape. Okay, see this thing? So this thing is a box. It has a medium axis, a long axis, and a short axis. Now, if I flip it so that it rotates about an axis that is perpendicular to the, if I flip it so it rotates around this axis, which is like it's rotating so that the long axis and the medium axis are interchanging, then it stays going the same direction, right? Similarly, if I flip it so that it is rotating about an axis passing through the short face here, so if it's rotating this way, that will also be fine. See, it'll stay the same orientation. However, if you flip it about an axis that passes through this side here, so it's the long and the short axis are interchanging, it flips over. I don't know if you can see this, but it's flipping in front of me. It goes up and then it does a turn and then it flips. That's the tennis racket theorem, and I have a video on it. Is there any device that can detect the wavelength of light directly? Directly? I don't know what you mean by directly, but I mean, yeah, they're called spectrometers, or sorry, not spectrometers. Well, spectrometer is a word. Diffraction grating would do it. When we say observable universe, is that everything, or does it continue and we just can't see it? No, that observable universe means everything that we could potentially see. Have you ever taken a biophysics class? No. Would you ever hang out with Neil deGrasse Tyson? I guess if he wanted to. My child wants to be a physicist, so I'm listening very carefully to you. Well, good luck. I have to take Calc 1 through 3, differential equations, matrix while keeping 3.0 advice. Go to office hours. What branch of physics are you in? I do gravity stuff, differential geometry stuff. Do we have any evidence that an electron obeys the Pauli exclusion? Yeah. The spectrum of a hydrogen atom indicates that. Preferred normalization of eigenvectors. 1. Named Ivy League schools as best schools for science. They're the best public state schools for science. I mean, unfortunately, well, so MIT, Caltech, and Stanford are not Ivy Leagues. They're just top tier schools, right? Chicago University is good. But like generally the best universities are going to be those. Why'd you become a physicist? Because black holes are cool. Have you ever met any famous physicists? Well, they're famous to me, but you probably wouldn't know them. Is there any minute at all to the frequency charlatans about frequencies? No. Would mass be undetectable due to it transitioning to a new reality at light speed? That doesn't happen. What? But weird we can't make a plane or a car that works with electromagnets. Why is that weird? Like, the Earth's magnetic field isn't very strong, so you don't have a whole lot to support yourself on. Are most physicists magicians also? No. Best, most straightforward experiments to demonstrate to people in low-income hoods physics is real. It depends. Physics is really broad, so it really depends on like what thing you want to demonstrate. The hydrogen atom obeys Pauli exclusion. No. The electron in the hydrogen atom obeys Pauli exclusion. If it didn't, then there would be no spectrum. All electrons would always be sitting, or sorry, let me rephrase. I should say that wasn't quite correct. The electrons in every atom besides hydrogen would have all of their electrons in the lowest energy state if there was no Pauli exclusion. Michigan is also quite good, yeah. Can you explain how the fabric of space-time works? Yeah, matter tells space-time how to curve. Space-time tells matter how to move. You got a physics text tomorrow you're cooked? No, just study. Do you recommend Khan Academy for physics? It's fairly good for elementary stuff. How do you suggest people side with true science and not what sounds entertaining? I don't follow. I mean, that's what I'm doing here on TikTok. That's why I'm trying to be here. Is relativity just spicy Pythagoras? Yes. Did Treasure Planet influence your love of astrophysics as a kid? I don't even remember Treasure Planet. I did see it, but I don't remember it at all. Do you have a physics tattoo? No. Why ask you these questions when we can just ask ChatGPT-4? I guess you can, if you want to. Bye. But for what it's worth, I probably know more than it does. At least, or I probably know deeper than it does. Anything you would change about the movie Interstellar? I don't know, the end. We're always good at physics. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's a skill that takes practice, right? I've been doing it for 12 years, almost 13. Entropy grows over time. Do you agree that means that there's a point where all energy in one place? Only in a closed system, and we don't actually know if our universe is a closed system. Is Ululek based? Yes. Are electromagnetic waves Fourier transformable? Are all of them Fourier transformable? If they're waves, sure. What topic did you struggle the most on in physics? Statistical mechanics. All light speed, when you turn on a light, it's still the lights. What? Isn't time travel technically real? Yeah, we're moving forward through time all the time. What question can I ask GPT-4 that you could answer better regarding physics? Anything regarding a new paper that came out that I've read and it doesn't know about. Most of my videos are probably outside the realm of GPT-4. That'd be my guess. Is there a Blitz theorem? No, but you never name things after yourself. You wait till somebody else names it after you. What's your favorite thing about black holes? I don't know, they're just cool and weird. How many dimensions are there? At least 4. Can you physics explain how the Twin Towers fell? Yeah, sure. Just go ask an engineer. Will AI take over your job? I hope not. Do you have any tattoos? I do not. What's the difference between a black hole and a primordial black hole? Well, they're both black holes. It's just primordial black holes didn't form from stellar collapse. What'd be the most exciting development in your field, in the field? Well, the field's really, really broad. But I would like to see a geometric interpretation of a black hole event horizon. I would really like to see that. What do scientists think the stage of the universe is at, and will it end with only black hole? So we're like, it depends on what the future of the universe looks like. I used to think that the universe might end in heat death, but new data at least seems to be implying that it might be the case that the universe recollapses at some point in the distant future. Now, don't take my word for that. This is based off of a DESI study that came out a few months back. DESI is a large telescope collaboration. If new data comes out and shows that their data was just a statistical anomaly, then I'll change my position accordingly. But, you know. Do you think Big Bang is accurate in how they portray physics? Not really. Do you think black holes generate dark matter? No, I don't. But they could. I could be wrong. Thoughts on CERN making man-made black holes? They haven't. If they did, I would know. Did you ever see the movie Event Horizon? I did not. Would sufficient positive charge repulsion between particles help counteract gravitational collapse? Yes, in fact, there is a maximum amount of charge that a black hole can have for that reason. I don't care about Elon Musk. I care zero about Elon Musk. Is Hawking radiation the only way a black hole can lose info that's fallen into it? As far as we know. Everything is interesting if you go into it deeply enough. Do you agree? Probably. Yeah, I think so. Did time behave differently at the Big Bang? At the Big Bang, we don't know what was going on at the Big Bang, but shortly after the Big Bang, no, as far as we can tell, it was basically behaving the same way. What is the upper and lower mass limit of black holes? Well, in principle, there isn't one. Do you know Russell's teapot theory? Yeah, I use it all the time. Do you think we live in a simulation? No, I don't. I actually made a recent video debunking one of this 2022 Nobel Prize stuff. It doesn't say anything about us living in a simulation. Do you think you're smarter than Elon Musk? At least in some ways, yes, definitely. He probably knows a lot more about running a business than I do. James Gates finding error correcting code in string theory, which is not true. Like, we don't have any evidence for it. So humans of the universe experiencing self. I'm curious how humans and loss of entropy relate. Humans exist because the universe is in a process of going from low entropy to high entropy, and that's when complexity arises. Do you have videos debunking Billy Carson? I do. If you weren't a physicist, what would you be doing? Hard to say. Any cases where only having numerical approximation means there isn't an ontic mapping to reality? That's a good question that I don't know the answer to. Is it theoretically possible to compress a non-compressible fluid? Well, a non-compressible fluid doesn't actually exist, right? How long is the universe? At least this long. What distinguishes a good scientist from a great scientist? If I knew, I'd be the latter, right? What's the difference between a theory and a law? A law is just an empirically measured relationship between measured quantities. So think like mass, force, there's a law relating the two. Newton's universal law of gravitation. A theory is like a coherent explanation. It's like a mathematical framework that maps onto a mathematical framework that tells you how this thing relates to this thing, these things relate to each other, what the underlying mathematics of the whole system is, and then an interpretation relating that mathematics to the real world. Literally talks to Michio Kaku about it. He's a physicist who talks to Michio Kaku about what? Would it be out of your realm to visit the big arc exhibit? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. What do you think about Elon Musk? I don't care for him. How do we measure a quark's flavor? Well, flavor is just the type, so it's just dependent on the mass and the charge. What type of private jobs would your PhD allow you to do? I don't know, like software, data science, financial stuff, probably. Is it possible that there was a period during the Big Bang that was too early for time to occur? I don't know what that question means. Theory means we didn't work it out in physical reality, but it sounds good, so I tried. That's not what theory means, but okay. What's the ultimate fate of the universe? Well, it might be that the universe recollapses, so we might have a big bounce, which is worse, Tegmark or Wolfram? Wolfram, easily. James Gate about when he found error correcting code within the strings of string theory. Yeah, so string theory is not like proven, so it doesn't say anything about how the world actually is. Did an energy field exist before the Big Bang? We don't know anything about what happened before the Big Bang. Do you have any planets that can act as a megaphone in space? What does that mean? What do you think of alternative theories of everything? I'm happy to read into them. What theory have you proven in physical reality with your own strong hands and mind? You don't use your hands to do physics. Like, at best you use machines, right? I thought theory was just the latest explanation that haven't been proven wrong. No, a theory is a comprehensive explanation involving a mathematical model or mathematical structures and some sort of interpretation. At least that's how we use the word in physics. What's your favorite hard sci-fi authors? I don't have any. I don't read hard sci-fi. To be a physicist and to deny actual physics of your peers seems antithetical to science. I'm not denying that. Well, James Gates's co-authors said that he was talking out of his ass. So like, even his own co-authors don't agree with him about this whole like, oh, there's definitely error correcting codes and therefore the universe is a simulation. And secondly, even if there is error correcting codes in string theory, it's an analogy. It doesn't say anything about there actually being code. It's just an analogy in terms of matrix eigenvectors. And even then, we're still talking about string theory, which doesn't have any relevance to reality as far as we can tell. I actually have a video debunking James Gates, so go watch it if you want. Does theory of relativity hold up under intense scrutiny? Very intense scrutiny, yes. Is the Oppenheimer movie a good portrayal of physics? I don't know if it's a good portrayal of physics, but it's a good movie. Is the moon a luminary? Well, it's lit up sometimes, but no, it's an orbiting body. What do you think of the odds of sitting down with Terrence Howard? 0. Why are interpretations necessary in physics? Well, without the interpretations, you just have math. You need some way to connect the math to reality. If the universe collapses, will entropy reverse due to a decreasing number of microstates? Yep. At least that's my thinking. Heard that in order to visit other dimensions, we have to match the vibration frequency. That's nonsense, unfortunately. Like, it's not a real thing. Do we expect to observe gravitational waves from early in the Big Bang? We hope so. Lisa might. I don't think Lisa is sensitive enough for that. But there are some proposals. Holds up to scrutiny every time you use a GPS. There you go. True. Would you do a collab with Professor Dave? Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the GOAT of physics? Einstein. Einstein's the GOAT. He invented modern physics, basically single-handedly. Why is string theory called a theory since it does? No, it does. The definition of a theory being a mathematical structure with an interpretation absolutely is a theory. It's just not a theory in the science communicator sense. But a theory in the science communicator sense is different from how scientists use the word theory. The moon is absolutely a solid object. What are you talking about? It's an orbiting body. When are you debating again? I do this every Wednesday, and then I debate Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Do you think there will be discoveries that completely change our understanding of the universe? Probably. Einstein is a pi baby. What does that mean? Oh, yeah. They say the universe is flat. How flat does it mean? So what flat really means is that if you drew a triangle in space, it would have 180 degrees on the inside between its angles. If the universe wasn't flat, if it was, say, spherical. Oh, by the way, Rob, thanks for sending me the $10. By the way, I do have a Cash App, so if you want to help support the channel, that's an option. Cash App is in my link tree. Rob just sent $10, so thank you, Rob. Right, so if the universe wasn't flat, but was like four-dimensional spherical, a three-sphere, then the internal angles would add up to more than 180 degrees in a large triangle. But we see that triangles have an internal angle that adds up to 180 degrees, so it seems flat. Do you feel collective shame as a physicist of what we did to Lisa Meitner? Thank you for the swan. Why do I know the name Lisa Meitner? Probably. Once I read about it, I probably would feel shame, though, because I think I know what you're talking about. I saw we know it's flat up to a small degree. If it's not flat past that, implications. Well, if it's compact, meaning that if it's spherical, then that would be interesting. It means that our universe is finite in size. If it's not compact, if it's hyperbolic, then that would be interesting because it means our universe is infinite in size. What percentage of the laws of physics do you think we know? Oh, I don't think that we can quantify that. Can you explain the definite discrepancy between matter and antimatter? Yeah, so matter is all of the stuff around you, and the antimatter is exactly identical to all of that stuff, except you change all of the charges from positive to negative. And from, that's basically what you do. Is the universe completely comprehensible to the human mind? I hope so. If we can detect a fourth spatial dimension, how do we know it's a fourth dimension? We can't detect a fourth spatial dimension. What do you think of the Gateway Project? It's nonsense. I have a video on it. I have several videos on it, actually. How do fields even exist? Well, I don't know, but they might just be the things at the bottom. Was there a discovery that disappointed you about the universe? Well, every time we find something that's exactly as we expected it to be and not different is a little bit disappointing. Which is why this DESI result, that the universe might not have constant dark energy, was very, very exciting, because it was different than what we expected. How do we make it through the Van Allen belt if we went to the moon? Well, the Van Allen belt is fairly radiation heavy, but you can get through it in like 45 minutes and then you'll be fine. Opinion on Chipotle? I like it. I like Chipotle, or at least I used to. I don't know how it's changed in the last few years. Is relativity the new Newtonian mechanics? Yeah, basically. Well, we don't actually know if it's limited. That's the issue. It probably is, but we don't know. If space expands and space-time is the thing, does time expand? No, just the space part. Oh, okay. You were asking what the discrepancy is. Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, the point is that there's basically no antimatter, and we don't know why. What was your hardest math physics class? Topology, because I took it as a freshman and I shouldn't have. Do you think people are underwhelmed by the brilliance of life and Earth and the universe? I don't know. I think a lot of people understand the glory and stuff. I think that people understand it pretty well. Will faster than light travel ever be achieved? I suspect not. Is there no way to have a spherically infinite mass? No, you can't. In fact, this is like provable. It's provable using topology that if you have a positive scalar curvature, then it's necessarily compact. Do we know approximately how many particles are missing from the standard model? Well, no, because we've never detected one that's not present in the standard model. What's the most important discovery in physics? probably that electrons behave like waves. And I think that was in the 30s or 40s or something. How confirmed is inflation? Not at all. Do you fear death? Yeah, a little bit, but I don't think about it too much. What do you think we'll discover with the Nancy Grace Romans? I don't actually know what it's being used for, so that's cool. Have you ever met anyone significantly smarter than you? Yeah, most of my colleagues. Physics and mathematics are have a very high selection pressure to be very, very smart. So the more senior you get, the more brilliant the people are, or tend to be, because the people who aren't brilliant tend to fall out. There should be an equal proportion of matter and antimatter if our theories are correct, but there isn't. Gravity is felt to do the curvature of space-time. What the hell's a graviton? It would be an excitation in the gravitational field. It's just a quantized jiggle. What's the update with CERN? I haven't heard anything. How can we see different galaxies and still the telescopes are not capable to see the surface of the moon? Do you know how big Andromeda is in the sky? I'm pretty sure Andromeda is bigger than the moon in the sky. So galaxies are big. Moon's small and far. Any specific routines being a physicist? No. Is it true that physics of bicycles is not fully well understood? No, it's fully understood. Is the rate of discovery in physics a constant? No. Is string theory in question? Always, but it's not falling out of favor. What food are you looking forward to eating the most when you come back to the States? Honestly, it might be Chipotle. Is combinatorial topology useful in physics? Just a smidge when you're doing like topological field theory, I think, but I don't know anything else about that. Are you watching the Nova? What Nova? What? Is there a Nova? I'm a theoretical physicist, yeah. What do you think of Terrence Howard? He talks out his ass. Thoughts on Sabina Hussenfelder? Look, I think that she makes a lot of content and a lot of waves by being cynical, and I don't know. I just don't appreciate the cynicism. Also, she has some bad political takes. Does a manifold model in space behave different than a manifold that is space? Only a little bit, and not in a way that matters. Andromeda is roughly 3 times the diameter of the moon in angular size. There you go. Very easy to see. It's just kind of dim. What do you think quantum mechanics actually tells us about nature? That's a really good question. Can quantum fluctuations, virtual particles be caused by something also non-classical? Well, virtual particles aren't real. I will say that till the day I die. It's just mathematical abstraction. But quantum fluctuations are real. Can they be caused by something also non-classical? They are. They're caused by quantum fields. Will the universe continue to expand into the great freeze or just a bunch of great attractors? No. So it depends. If the universe really is going to expand forever, which it might not now, then it'll have a great freeze. Any update on dark matter? Not that I've heard. How can gravity travel at the speed of light? Well, that's the propagation. If you write down the wave equation from Einstein's field equations, you get a speed of light, or you get a wave speed of the speed of light. Who's the greatest physicist of all time? I would say Einstein. Some people will say Newton. Is there something you didn't understand during physics classes? Probably, but I don't remember it now. Do you have any realistic fears of AI? Yeah, that'll prevent me from getting a job. Is Terrence your op? No. What course, physics or math, give you the most trouble? Topology. Do you think civilizations in other worlds discovered the laws of physics in roughly the same order? Roughly the same order, I would bet so, yeah. Do you have any patents? No. Why would I have patents? Can you slow down? No, there's so many questions. But this will be on YouTube, and you can always play it in slow-mo mode. Take a 1 light year stick floating in space and push it. Does it move instantly on both sides? No. The motion will travel at the speed of sound of the object. So actually quite slowly. Why did topology give you trouble? Oh, because I took it as a freshman, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I'm sure if I took it now, it'd be fine. Have you published? Yeah, I have like 8 publications in like the last 3 years. Is Einstein smarter than Ed Witten? Maybe not more talented mathematically, but definitely has better insight, I think. Is the cutest physicist in history and why? I don't know. When you say the universe is expanding, does that mean stretching or creating more space? They're kind of the same thing. How do you find your published works? You don't, because I'm anonymous here, because I get threats. So please don't look for me. What do you think is going on the Bouvet Islands? Weird frequencies and weather patterns? I've never heard of that. String theory or quantum loop gravity? I don't know if either of them are right. Newton was a cutie. Would you start the Higgs? What would the Higgs look like as a vector field? It wouldn't. It's not a vector field. It's a complex scalar. What's the difference between no, it's not a complex scalar. I'm sorry. It's a real scalar. No, it's a complex scalar. It's a real scalar that is vector valued with... I'm going to talk out my ass. I'm not going to say anything. Brief explanation of local non-reality. Yeah, so you could have systems that communicate their information, and you just don't have well-defined properties of the system until they're measured. That's what non-reality means. Do you like the book Einstein's Dreams? I've never read it. Would you rather be Newton or Einstein? Einstein. Greatest physicist of our time. It's going to be very field dependent, but like Ed Witten's probably up there. Yeah, unfortunately. How do you become a physicist? You get a PhD in physics and then go work in physics. String theory, loop quantum gravity, I mean, which do you prefer? I don't really prefer either. How many hours do you put in for work, and what do you do with your free time if you have any? I put in, probably around 35 hours a week, maybe 40 hours a week. Depending on the week, sometimes I put in more, sometimes I put in less. But I work through lunch, so I don't know. Does that count? And then what do I do with my free time? This. What's quantum gravity? Quantum gravity is this idea that it's a proposed hypothesis. It's a proposed theory of gravity, or a proposed theory of our universe that describes how gravity behaves on a quantum scale. That's the basic gist. And we just don't know how that works yet. I've laid out facts, globe debunked 100%. Okay, buddy. Explain Planck's constant. It's a number. What's there to explain? It's a number that shows up all over the place. How do we know when the Big Bang began if space-time already existed before it? We don't know if space-time exists before it, but we know when the universe was small. That's how we know. By the way, guys, I have a theme song now, which is crazy. And it's stuck in my head. Read the John Oppenheimer paper just for laugh? No. Best reads for dumb people to understand physics. A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Gravity is fake? It's not. Why stars are classified as gas? They're not. I don't think. I'm not going to sing it now. I can't play it because I'm recording on my screen on my computer. I'm going to bring up a guest. Let's bring up David F. Name of song. I don't even know if it has a name. A fan sent it to me. It's at the end of my videos, though, on YouTube. It'll be at the end of this one when I upload it. All right, this person's not connecting. How come the USB drives never go in first time? Oh, because they're topologically non-simple. Can you explain the stress tensor and general relativity? The stress tensor just tells you how much matter there is. Matter, energy, momentum, things like that. What's the most important physics discovery that is significant for explaining evolution? Oh, I don't know. Statistical mechanics? When it comes to the subject of gravity, we need to remember it's the theory of gravity. No, gravity is a real thing. It's just the way that we explain it is a theory, as in it's a mathematical model with a set of interpretations. What do you do for a living? I'm a physicist. It's my job. And a mathematician, depending on who you ask. What do you think the center of a black hole is made out of? I don't know. I really don't know. Is it true that the sun doesn't have enough energy for fusion, relies on quantum tunneling? Yes. Yes, that is true. Did gravity come into existence, or was it always there? It's been there as long as the universe has been here. What does Czech have that the USA doesn't? A job. What's topologically non-simple? It was just a dumb joke. How would you explain gravity? Gravity is the phenomenon of objects with energy attracting other objects with energy. Can you use differential equations on space? Yeah, absolutely. Cosmological axis of evil. Earth's axis is aligned with what? It's a good question. It's an open question. No one knows the answer to it. What's your greatest publication? Honestly, I think it's, well, okay. It might be the one that's cited most, which is not cited very often, but it's because it's only been published for a year. But It's just a very technical work that develops some new mathematics for some a type of geometry. But I think the coolest publication is the one it's actually not been published yet, but it's currently on the preprint server. It's about quantum gravity, and I think it's just really cool. Is it hard to be a physicist? Yeah, a little bit. Do you think that honestly we'll see this theory of everything in the next 6 years? No. How precise is the axis of evil aligned? More precisely than you would expect. Holy shit, it's Leonard Hofstadter. Well, thank you, I guess, because what's his name? That actor is actually like mega hot. He's like a really attractive dude. So thanks. Do physics inaccuracies in movies grind your gears? Only a little bit. All right, this guy asking me to explain gene regulatory networks. I cannot, because I'm a physicist. Is the whole universe expanding, or can there be unobserved parts that aren't expanding? Well, so the universe is only expanding in places where there is not, where there's not matter, right? So like inside galaxies, the universe isn't expanding. It's only in the space between galaxy clusters that you have universal expansion. Is the observer effect real? Only insofar as observers make measurements. It's really the measurement problem, not the observer effect. Where can you see your work? Where can you see my work? You can't, because I'm not going to tell you about it. If we pretend pure GR singularity for Big Bang is real, what would its charge and angular momentum be? Probably 0. John Galecki. Yeah. I mean, he's like ripped, dude. Do you teach in Czech or English? I don't actually teach right now. This is a research position. Are you doing this to flex your knowledge as in to keep you on your toes? Well, the third thing is just to teach people physics, right? Is there a particular physics stretchy movie that annoyed you? What? I don't know what that question means. Is the expansion slowing down? No. But if the data is correct, if the DESI data is correct, then the acceleration of the expansion is decreasing. What do you think of Stephen Wolfram's efforts in theory of everything? I don't take it seriously. How come it takes an infinite amount of energy to move only 300,000 kilometers per second? Because that's the speed limit. Well, yeah, I am teaching now. That's fair. Are left and right politics the battles of those with high empathy versus low empathy? Yeah, sure. What's your favorite law of motion and why? There's only kind of one law of motion. Well, okay. Scalar field or scalar wave equations are nice. Albert Einstein was also a socialist. True. He was a liberal socialist, by the way. He wasn't like a Stalinist or a tanky or anything. He was a liberal socialist, which is based. Any legitimacy to 0-point entry? Yeah, it's real. You just can't do anything with it. Like, it's physically impossible to do anything with it. How do particle accelerators work, and what are their purpose? Yeah, so basically you take charged particles like electrons or protons. These are things with positive or negative charge. You can use magnets to make them go in a circle, and then you can use basically batteries to speed them up. So you speed them up as they're going around and around in a circle, and then you smash them together. And just like what would happen if you threw two phones at each other at the speed of sound, they explode and stuff comes out, and you can figure out what they're made out of. And then you can use that to study subatomic things. Who would be a better dinner guest, Sagan or deGrasse Tyson? Sagan. Easily Sagan. I would what I wouldn't give to have Sagan as a dinner guest. Have you ever heard of physicists actually use the term jerk? No. But it's fun to say. Did you do a video on why you can't use the 0-point energy? I did. It's quite recent, actually. Explain different sizes of infinity, and did you mention it on Joe Rogan and at Cape Brayden? It's a math thing. It's not a physics thing. But sure. I mean, the idea is that like you can have... So there's the type of infinity known as countable infinity, which is basically the number of like whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, forever. It's that big infinity. And so the way that we figure out whether an infinity is bigger or smaller than another infinity is we see, can we like match them 1-to-1 onto each other? So like you can match the number of whole numbers to the number of even numbers. You can match 1 to 2, you can match 2 to 4, you can match 3 to 6, and you'll never fail to match. So there are the same number of even numbers as there are whole numbers. Fine. However, what is the case is that there are more decimals between 0 and 1 than there are whole numbers. And the reason why is because for there's always a decimal that you'll miss if you try to assign every one to a whole number. There's something called the Cantor's diagonal argument, which can be used to explain that. And I think I have a video on that from a while ago. Do they use principal component analysis for large beam collisions? What would the vectors? I have no idea. I haven't done any particle physics data analysis. Are there theories as to why there's a speed limit of causality? I mean, it's kind of it's just a feature of our universe. It comes out of the symmetries that our universe has. If our universe behaves in a certain way, meaning the laws of physics are the same in every reference frame, it just had to be that way. Do you like Michio Kaku? I owe him a lot because he's one of the reasons I got into and stayed in physics. I think he's kind of gone off the rails. Did you consider engineering ever? No. Do you think it's just chance there's no dark matter in the solar system? No, there is dark matter in the solar system. If there's dark matter at all, it's in the solar system. Why do some things have inherent mass? Most physics constants are mass values. Well, that's a... You could instead say that most physics constants are angles, and then there's one mass value, which is there's one mass/energy value, which is, well, there'd be the mass of the Higgs boson. And then everything else is just an angle. These angles are the angles in the CKM matrix. What do you think about Terence Howard? He's a hack. A hack. Can you do a brief introduction to quantum chromodynamics? Not on this live, but I do have videos about it. He has gone Hollywood crazy, yes. JWST has found data contradicting the Big Bang. Not as far as I know. Could string theory and vibration of strings be useful for FTL communication? No. What's your response when people say the universe can't come from nothing? I say, how do you know? What lack of energy symmetry with neutrino proton versus antineutrino proton scattering? I don't understand the question, but I also might just be missing something. It's been a long time since I've thought about scattering problems. Most base solutions for GR. The most base solution is the Kerr solution. The least base solution is the Gödel universe. What do you think about theoretical physics degrees in terms of degrees? I don't know what that means. Do you use Python, MATLAB, or R? I use Python occasionally. I use Maple a lot. Do you count the strong mixing angles as constants, or are they zero? Well, if they're zero, then they're not really constants. Well, I mean, they are constants, they're just zero, right? Why are Higgs bosons so rare? Because they're really hard to make. Sorry, I'm a bit behind. My favorite videos of yours are the debunks. Can I send you crazy bits to debunk? Better to tag me in them. Notice I will only make debunk videos if the video has more than 100,000 views. So don't just send me a random one with like 50 views. I don't want to boost videos that are spreading bad information. Thoughts on the toroidal field and the theories of it related to the human body? The toroidal field isn't a thing. It's just a word salad phrase that people talk about. I mean, like, it's a thing in physics, but it has nothing to do with what you think it does. Did Gödel do anything that's based? Sure. He did a lot of stuff about fundamentals of mathematics. Can you explain the difference between a master's of physics and a master's of science? A master's of physics is you get a master's of science in physics. How did you best learn coding? I started coding in HTML, which is like coding, when I was like 8 or 9. So like I've just been doing it for a long time. I don't really have any good info on that, on how to like the best to learn. L'Hopital's rule is another method for evaluating comparing indeterminate forms. No, not relevant here, because we're not comparing continuous function, or we're not comparing functions. Ow! Also, I just stabbed myself. Ow! I gotta stop playing with a knife. So something coming from nothing is an illogical contradiction in itself? No, I don't think so. What do you know about gravitational force mediator? Is the graviton an actual particle? We don't know. What we do know is that you can write down an effective field theory for a graviton, but we've never detected one, so... What do you think about a theoretical physics degree in terms of careers? You can get a job doing physics at a university, or you can go do engineering stuff. Is Terence Howard legit? No, he is not. Thoughts about GD6 on a rotating ellipsoid? Seems like a pain. What do you do for a living? I'm a physicist. I'm a mathematician. I work at a university. I did HTML for my blog site when I was a kid. Yeah, that's basically what I did. Why do you play with knives? It's a Leatherman, and I'm just playing with it because I'm fidgeting. Saying what isn't every day doesn't mean that you know what? Could the speed of light be considered as the universe's processing speed? Not really. I don't take the simulation business seriously. How could we detect a graviton? It's a good question. We would need some sort of quantum system that could actually interact with gravitational force. Are you more into strings or QFT? Neither. I'm more into relativity. Java or Python? Python. Favorite subfield of math? Differential geometry. Didn't we detect a graviton in 2007? We detected the first gravitational wave. No, we detected many gravitons if they exist at all. Why doesn't expansion happen within galaxies? Because the gravity is too strong. Stated needing 4 greater representation in physics. How do you go about doing that if you were in charge? I mean, look, the thing is that the trouble is it's not a problem at the top, it's a problem at the bottom, right? So what we don't want to do is we don't want to compromise on quality. What we want is we want to bring in a well-qualified, better representation. And the trouble is just because of the way that kids are taught from a young age, women, people of color, is that we end up, for whatever reason, with people who are people of color, women, underrepresented groups in general, that are less interested in physics. And so the number of people who are excellent in those underrepresented groups is smaller than they should be, just because of the way that they're taught in elementary school or whatever. So we really have to start at the bottom. That's the hard thing. I mean, we can do our best to, promote good role models at the top, to, to make sure that when we compare two equally qualified candidates, we take the person coming from an underrepresented background. But like, that's hard to do. It's hard to do properly. Did you take differential topology? No. Do you code? In Python occasionally. Why are Asian women making more money than other race or women? I don't know. Thoughts on Jim Simon's work in differential geometry? He's brilliant. He was a brilliant man. Rest in peace. What accepted theory do you believe to be false? I can't think of any. Have you ever considered going into education? I have been. I taught at a university level for 3 years, physics, and I'm doing education now. Is there a way in physics to send data instantly? Nope. When do you think we'll be able to take control over the smallest particles? I don't think that we can. Do you make maps? No. What should I expect going into undergrad physics? It's going to be tricky. Do you think that there are gravitons? What does that mean for the standard model? Anything with gravitons is not going to be touched by the standard model. It's too high energy in order for them to have a significant role. I don't think it contradicts the standard model, though. I think it's just going to be like an extension of the standard model, if they exist. I don't know if they exist, though. I suspect they do, though. How old are you? I'm about to turn 30. Hey, y'all, I turn 30 soon, so keep that in mind. What's your background, like education? I have a PhD in physics. Is the world locally real? No, unless you assume superdeterminism. Or if you assume many worlds, right? Can I do the slot experiment at home without expensive equipment at home? Not the quantum version, no. Are you for or against AI? It's just a useful tool. We just have to use it properly. It's already all down here. It's already all downhill. It's been downhill since I was 25. Are you turning 31? Yeah, I'm turning 31 in like a week and a half. I'm turning 31, not 30. Quarantine effects, should I be worried? Yeah, a little bit if it happens. But we'll have early warning. What do you think about Sabina Hassenfelder? I think that she's overly cynical. I think she profits from being cynical. What are some everyday applications that have come from elementary particle physics? Everyday applications. Semiconductors, I guess. I don't know if that counts as particle physics, but like our understanding of quantum mechanics has influenced our ability to produce good, tiny transistors and stuff. Are you a Christian? No. Why are you a force ghost? I just always am. If the world's not locally real, then what does it mean? That's a good question. Sorry, I'm turning 31, not 30. Do you think heat death or big crunch is more likely? I'm increasingly convinced in a big crunch, actually. I am 30 now, yes. Who's the most overrated academic in history? Overrated? All right, this is going to be controversial. Might be Stephen Hawking. Not that what he did... Oh, no, it's easily Tesla. But he wasn't an academic. Look, what Stephen Hawking did was brilliant. But he didn't win a Nobel Prize. He was a cosmologist. Like, people compare Stephen Hawking to Einstein, but there's no comparison, right? So, not to say that Stephen Hawking wasn't one of the best physicists of the 20th century. He was. It's just people think that he was better than that, which is weird. Hawking was brilliant, but people are like, oh, Hawking was one of the greatest physicists of all time. Maybe, but there's a lot of other people too. I don't even know if he'd make top 5. Most underrated woman in physics is Emmy Noether. Is the cosmological constant actually a constant? It seems to be not. Newton, the most important physicist ever, maybe the most important. Yeah. What is it about Tesla you have a problem with? He wasn't a scientist. Did Higgs boson discovery lead to anything significant? Unfortunately, no, because it was exactly as we expected. How can we crunch with dark energy? If the dark energy is decreasing, eventually it'll turn off, basically. Why is the Hubble constant called a constant when it isn't always the same? It's just a measure of how fast it's expanding now. That's all. How can we experimentally verify quantum gravity given the extreme energy scales required? We might not be able to. We might need to observationally do it rather than experimentally do it. How can we ever prove it was him and not a computer? Oh, you're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. Tesla or Edison? They're both bad in different ways. What are the necessary qualifications to be a scientist? Be active in the research community that you work in. Be publishing. Does the Higgs field discredit the idea of negative energy since there's always some potential? No, not necessarily. Should we consider space-time as described by the Schwarzschild metric? Only near isolated large systems. You have another video? Oh, so many. So many. She shows up in like probably 10% of my videos. How do you explain quantum physics to primary kids? You don't. When Andromeda reaches our galaxy, will black holes eat each other? Probably, but we don't really know how it'll work. There's this thing called the last parsec problem where basically we know how the black holes will get closer to each other. And we know what'll happen once they get really close to each other, but we don't know how they get from like 3 light years out to like 1/10 of a light year. We don't know how they go through that gap. They just don't lose energy fast enough. What do you think about dark energy? It's cool. Are you excited to turn 1 billion seconds old this year? No. You could go to the future when Andromeda hits us, would you? Yeah, that'd be really cool. What is a Cauchy surface? A Cauchy surface is oh, I just got a ding. A Cauchy surface is just an initial data slice, at least in relativity. When you talk about a Cauchy surface, what we're talking about is a moment in time, basically, that provides initial conditions to evolve the Einstein field equation so you can get the full universe. Do you think an IQ text is a good representation of intelligence? Not really. I don't think we have free will, no. What's your Subway order? A turkey Italiano with lettuce and spinach. If I'm in the US, it's a turkey Italiano with lettuce and spinach and light onions, and then the Subway vinaigrette, salt, pepper, and oregano. Footlong on white bread. It's a bad habit physicists have that slows down research or understanding. I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head. What is Terrence Howard talking about? Nothing. He's talking about nothing. He's talking about shower thoughts. Can you explain the right hand rule? V, U, so V, U, V cross U. Or V, U, V cross U. Are you into philosophy of physics? A little bit, yeah. What do you think about local reality not being real? I just made a video on it. Go check it out. An LHC scientist came to my school today and told us that scientists usually set all constants one. True. Yeah, we do that because it's just a matter of choosing units. Right, we currently work in a unit system where like you have miles and seconds, at least if you're in the United States, and so the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. However, if you instead work with like a plumbus, which is equal to 186,000 miles, well now the speed of light is 1 plumbus per second. So it's an easier number to work with. Are you not in the US? I'm not. What is Weinstein talking about? Nothing. He's talking about nothing. Oh, this is my right hand, but it's mirrored. That's confusing. Do you have prior debate experience on TikTok? Yeah. Can you explain the Sachs-Wolf effect? I think I actually have a video on it from a long time ago. Is Michio Kaku someone to pay attention to? He was. I don't think anymore, no. What does entanglement mean in real world terms? How is information transferred? Information isn't transferred. That's the whole business. Rather, you have two different quantum particles described by the same quantum wave function. And so when you affect one, you're affecting the whole quantum wave function, which affects the other. Why is Chinese authoritarianism acceptable? I don't know. Is it? According to who? Do you have a theory the universe might turn around? I mean, it's not my theory. It's just a vibe. It's like a hypothesis. Columbus is real. No. Your opinion on remote viewing? I'm not convinced. Do you like PBS Spacetime? I love PBS Spacetime. They're really good. And you know what? If Matt O'Dowd is watching this, which he's probably not, but if Matt O'Dowd is watching this and he wanted to do a collab, I would be honored. Do you like capitalism? Not really. It's like decent. It's better than like feudalism, but no. Do you think grape culture is real? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a collab with Matt from PBS would be like, yeah, I would be. So I think he's one of the best science communicators that we have right now, honestly. Ever been to Carlsbad Caverns? I don't think so. I've been to Karchner Caverns. How long does it take to buy milk? Not that long. Are entropy and energy intrinsically related? Sorta, yeah. What's your take on Plumbuses? I like them a lot. What's better than capitalism? Have you studied Tesla? Enough. Favorite topic in physics? Black holes, yes. Black holes. I know the answer to that question, Stephen. Favorite fields of mathematics? Differential geometry. Who wins in a Roger Penrose versus Stephen Hawking physics battle? Well, I think that Roger Penrose wins. He's alive and he won a Nobel Prize. I think that Matt O'Dowd has just he has done so much good for and the thing about Matt O'Dowd, what I love about PBS Spacetime, is that he kind of does what I do, or at least but better, of course, because he doesn't skimp on the details, and he doesn't lie. He doesn't lie to oversimplify things. I have not been to LMU Munich. Favorite topic in chemistry? I don't know anything about chemistry. Can quantum entanglement be used for data transfer? No. It can be used for... No, it's fine. I really like Matt O'Dowd, so it's fine. Do you think we're alone? No, I do not. Is it possible to make a machine faster than the speed of light? No. Planck length is a wave limit of temp light. What? I don't know what you're saying. What's the best argument against flat Earth? We have pictures of the Earth from space. Favorite group, individual, and field of computational physics? I don't really know any computational physicists. Do you believe we're alone? Or do you know? Well, I don't think we're alone. Any validity to the Alcubierre drive? Well, it's a solution to the Einstein field equations, but it requires negative energy matter, so probably not. If you want to be an aerospace engineer, is a physics a good major for a bachelor's? No, get a degree in aerospace engineering. Favorite diff geotext? I use Spivak as a reference quite a lot. I know not a lot of people like it, but it has some really good references for me, so I like it a lot. I haven't actually gone through all of it, 5 volumes, but why is E equals MC squared so famous? Probably the atom bomb. That's my guess. Can you explain Bell's inequality? I do have a video on this, but roughly what it is that if you set up a Bell state and you have two people measure different things, then the answers will be correlated in a way that can't be explained classically. Is it true that there's a higher chance for living in a simulation than not? No, it's not true. Any thoughts on recent work for 3D gravity being dual to an ensemble of CFTs? I'm not familiar with it. But 3D gravity is also topological, so it's not super interesting. Why do you always speak on 2x speed? So that people don't have to speed it up. And this is just how I talk. Do you know how Element 115 elevated craft? It didn't, unfortunately. Is it true that if we can move at the speed of light, we can potentially time travel? We can time travel now. We can time travel forward into the future. We do it all the time. What experiments to demonstrate gravitons? We don't know if gravitons exist. The speed of light isn't slowing down. We have no evidence of that. Best Nobel Prize discovery? I don't know if they're all spectacular, but my favorite recently was the gravitational waves discovery. That was quite good. Oppenheimer was absolutely a scientist. He was a physicist. The Oppenheimer-Tolman model is named after him. He wasn't an inventor, he was a physicist. Gravity is not real. It absolutely is. Is matter fundamental? Seems to be. All right, let me bring up another guest. Bring up Nate Debates. Nate, how's it going?
Good, how you doing?
Doing all right. What questions you got for me?
Okay, so the first one, so if I were to give you, say, 10% of the U.S. military's budget per annum, so like 80 billion a year, what would you, to advance science, what would you use it for?
To advance science? Oh, I would just fund all the grad students who want to do research as a full-time job. Just give them money. But to advance like society, take all that money and put it towards fusion research. All of it.
Okay. Why fusion research?
Because what drives society forward is energy production. The more effective we've been able to produce and distribute energy, the more advanced society has gotten and the better people's lives have been. There's a reason life got so much better after the Industrial Revolution, and it's because we have access to electricity.
Right. And
so more electricity would be good.
So specifically, researching fusion would be, you think, the best way to accomplish that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then last one for you. I was going to ask, who's someone that you think is deserving of a Nobel Prize in physics that hasn't received one?
I can't think of any people off the top of my head.
All right, fair enough.
Maybe Bob Wald. But I don't know if he deserves a Nobel Prize. He probably just deserves some other award, like a Lifetime Achievement Award. But that's not what the Nobel's for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, fair enough. That's all I got for you.
All right. Thanks for being here. No, those are actually some good questions. How do you spin a black hole up if you're trying to isolate the singularity from any event horizon? Well, the thing is you can't. You can't spin a black hole up. At least not to make it a naked singularity. Yeah, so by the way, the whole thing about $80 billion a year for grad students, there's what, like 10,000 STEM graduate students or something a year, or 20,000 or something? It's plenty of money. Plenty of money to fund all of them. Do all the frequencies in our environment affect our brainwaves? No. Is the Nobel Prize kind of biased towards certain people? Yeah, of course it is. What physics mystery is not solved purely because of funding? Probably fusion, honestly. What are your current research interests? Manifold geometry or submanifold geometry, black hole event horizons, and quantum gravity. Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about the 80 billion for weeks, trust me. Absolutely will. 10K students be 800K per student. Yeah, there you go. So it'd be plenty. We could fund 100K students with 80K a year. Come on. There'd be so much new science being done. Our black hole, as a black hole rotates, it should shrink its event horizon. It's not possible to put spin on. Yeah, the thing is if you want to put spin on, you have to add matter to it with angular momentum, but you can't add enough matter to it to add enough angular momentum to make the event horizon actually shrink. Can you explain the superstring theory example, M theory in its 11 dimensions? So M theory and string theory are different things. String theory is a model of the universe, it's fairly well understood, but it's still in its infancy. Basically, it proposes that fundamental particles are actually loops of vibrating string. Seems weird, but fine. Now, it turns out that there are 5 different string theories, but they're all related to each other by things called dual. Oh, and by the way, string theory has to be in 10 dimensions. Otherwise, the math doesn't work. So there's 6. Now, there are 5 different string theories, and it turns out that they're related to each other by things called dualities. And so Ed Witten proposed this thing called M theory, which is kind of like the central piece of all the string theories. So all the string theories come from M theory via one of these like duality relations, and M theory lives in 11 dimensions. How do magnetic fields and electric fields create action at a distance? Magnetic fields propagate through space, and so they don't create action at a distance. You have a thing here that produces a magnetic field. The magnetic field goes from here to here, and then that causes an action over there. Particle gang or wave gang? Easily wave gang. Does quantum physics have an important role in our world, or is it just oh, it absolutely does. You have a lot of medical research relies on quantum physics. Modern computing relies on quantum physics. Lots of stuff. Why'd they pick strings? It originally came from a theory about the strong nuclear force. And they were thinking of, the whole history of string theories is super interesting. Was all of the mass of the universe concentrated at one point in the past? Maybe. I suspect not. What is a magnetic field made of? Electrons? No, it's made out of nothing. It's just a magnetic field. Do you teach outside of TikTok? No. What is going on from here to there? A field? What is a field? A field is just a number assigned to every point in space. Which theory about the early Big Bang do you like more? I don't have a preference, actually. What makes an electron band topological? Oh, I don't know. That's a condensed matter thing. I don't know anything about condensed matter. Would you force field exist? I don't know what that means. How is the Big Bang's expansion faster than the speed of light? Well, I don't know how you would quantify that, but there's no problem if it was. Space is allowed to expand however fast it wants because it's not a speed, it's a rate. Are there collapsing wave functions running through our brains? If wave functions collapse, then absolutely. What do you know about pyramids? They're cool shapes. Oh, we have a lot of guest requests. Kirk gets first dibs, as always. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going all right. Today was a not so productive day. What you got for me today?
So, is there a standard way to compare infinities? Like, which one is bigger?
Yeah. You use something called cardinality. So an infinity refers to the size of a set. And so all you do is you compare the two sets. You see which set, is there any set, you have some serious background noise, by the way. Is there a one-to-one mapping from one set to the other? Or can one set cover all of the elements of another set while having some stuff left over? That's basically how you compare the sizes.
Okay, because like I caught you saying like so the whole numbers is like onto infinity, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. And
Yep.
then the decimals in between 1 and 2, the infinity for that's larger than the whole numbers. I always figured
Yep.
it was the other way around because they're whole numbers.
No. Yeah, no. So basically the way that you can do this is you kind of do it by contradiction. So you say, okay, well, let's say that we can associate to every whole number a decimal. Well, you can write down the list. So you would say 1 maps onto 0.138, blah, 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 blah. And 2 maps onto, 0.469, blah, 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 blah. And you would write down a list. And then you can look along the diagonal, and you can just change one number along each diagonal, and you'll have come up with a number that's not on the list anywhere. But you've used up all of the whole numbers, which means that there's more decimals than there are whole numbers.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool.
And now there's some.
I do have a video on that, by the way.
My shop, so
You're good. Thanks for being here, Kirk.
Thank you very much.
Why are you more convinced of the big crunch over the heat death or big rip? Recently, data came out from the DESI collaboration, which seems to suggest that dark energy is actually decreasing magnitude, which would mean that eventually it'll stop and slow down and then collapse back in on itself. What does gravity keep space from expanding and not just anchor the massive up? Basically, because the Einstein field equations are very nonlinear. When people talk about alternate dimensions, what do they actually mean? They mean science fiction. That's all. Would a bubble in space-time rip an object apart? In principle, yeah, but they'd be too weak. Thoughts on philosophy of physics? It's cool, but I don't think about it a lot. Well, I sort of do, but I don't read about it a lot, I should say. Is dark energy a force? We have no idea what it is. How can you measure how big the universe is? Well, you can look at the furthest thing that you can see and measure how far away that is, and say that the universe is at least that big. Y'all, it is 9:15, and my throat is getting raspy, and I've been live for an hour and a half. So I think I'm going to end the live here, because I can never do more than an hour and a half of Ask a Physicist. It's hard on the throat. So thank you guys all for being here. Remember, if you missed the beginning, you can go watch it on YouTube later. It'll be posted in my Discord. You can find it on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Blitz, or it's Blitz PhD or something like that. Anyway, so I'll see you guys next time. Take care.